podcast land. Welcome to Voice of the Parrot. I'm your host, Shasta Ray, and I am joined in the studio. Wait a minute. Hang on. I moved the studio. I'm coming to you live, pre-recorded from the bird room. Oh my gosh, I moved the studio temporarily up here. Holy cow, it's a party on a Saturday, and we've got Zoltan, the podcast bird, Aggie, Cricket, the little madman himself, Moose, Mike the rescue bird, Murray the cockatiel, Bug the wonder budgie, and a new member of the flock. Oh my gosh. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. They were really noisy there for just a little bit. So, oh, here they go. They're getting going. And it gives you the idea of what it's like to live with birds also. So, you know, it's good for you, the listener. Especially if you're wondering what it's like with the noise level for budgies, anything like that. Now, Murray, the cockatiel, is kind of preoccupied right now. I got him some new toys from Mile High Parrot Supply a number of weeks ago, and he started playing with one of them, which is a forage box. Except he loves it so much he's been romancing it for several days now. He thinks it's his wife. It's kind of disturbing, but I might have to take that. I think it's just a couple of the toys in there are triggering him, so I'm going to try that and see if removing those helps. But yeah, he's kind of preoccupied. Meanwhile, if you're looking for some really great shred toys for your bird at a very, very, very reasonable price, check out milehighparrotsupply.com and use promo code VOICE20. So that'll get you 20% off your order. That does not apply to live birds, okay? You cannot get the 20% off birds. But anything else off their site, I think that applies to. Ask Chris. His contact is on the website. So, anyway, yes, the giant dog is not here tonight. He went to his best friend's house for a slumber party, which is really good for him. He's been very bored, and it came up on my Facebook timeline that it was right at a year ago that I lost Microdog. She passed away. And wow, it's hard to believe it's been a year, but yeah, it has been. And they were not best of buddies. They were like doggy roommates. Chihuahuas don't always like other breeds of dogs. And she kind of tolerated him, and they kind of coexisted together. But I'd say that generally speaking, they were friends. They probably appreciated each other's existence. And he's just not quite been himself since she passed away. So I set him up with little doggy play dates every couple weeks with his best friend. And every now and then we do slumber party overnighters. So this was an overnighter weekend, and he was all ready to go, and he had his little overnight bag with his food and treats with him, and I guess they've been causing trouble and having fun. So I wanted to tell you guys that because it is very good. If you get a puppy, especially if you get a very young puppy, and learn how to do this properly so you get good results, you need to socialize them and get them used to different types of situations and that sort of thing. If you've got friends or family members that have dogs and you socialize those dogs together, oh my gosh, have play dates and then do overnighters and stuff and get each other's dogs used to that if you're willing and if you can make it work. Sometimes people's dogs aren't as well behaved as other people's dogs, and it's irritating to one party or the other. You can see where I'm going with that. But when it's a good match, it's a good match. But sometimes that's better than having your dog boarded. And if your dog is used to going and having slumber parties with people or just play dates in general, it makes it so much easier and so much less stressful for the dog if you've got to travel or you do need to have someone watch them for a few days, right? So consider that. That's for the dogs. That's for all the dog people out there. Yeah, I've been doing that with him for the past year, and today is a slumber party day for him. So anyhow, oh, well, see, there's that news music. This whole episode is pretty much going to be a news flash. I've got lots and lots and lots and lots of news for you guys, and it falls into a lot of stuff we've been talking about on this podcast about good bird parenting skills and keeping your birds happy and stuff. So I guess we'll just jump right in with all this. Oh my gosh. First and foremost with the news, this is the most exciting. I have mentioned quite a while back, I think, that I purchased a freeze-dry unit for myself, and I've been experimenting with that. And my little budgies, oh my gosh, are so picky. Picky. And so is Murray. Murray does like some fresh stuff, and the budgies do like fresh greens and herbs, that sort of thing. But they thrive on eating dry stuff, so I've had to come up with creative dry formulas for them, and it helps. So we'll talk a little bit more about exactly what's been going on with them and why. They do eat fresh veggies, and I do get some of that into them. But at any rate, I started playing with some different recipes with my freeze dryer, and I went out online and found some videos out there. One in particular that I really liked was from Elle and the Birds. I've mentioned her on this podcast before, and she has a really good video tutorial of how to make fresh chop with cooked grains in it for your birds. And she has some of the smaller birds like budgies, a cockatiel. She now has a couple of, I forgot what they're called, Sierra parakeets, I think, and a couple different conures. So they all pretty much have the same basic diet, and it's a really good tutorial on a very well-rounded way of making chop. So I used that as kind of a base idea for my recipe. I've tweaked it a little bit, I've added some stuff to it, and basically I make a really good base of a cooked human-grade grains with some lentils in there. And then I've got the rainbow, basically, of fine chopped vegetables. And those are raw. I do have some cooked sweet potato in there. It helps bind everything together a little bit. Anyway, I've come up with a really good formula. And then I add some parrot-safe spices. So I've added some turmeric and ginger, and then the parrot-safe cinnamon. There's two different types of cinnamon. One you should not feed your parrots. This is the parrot-safe one. Everything is human grade and as organic as possible whenever possible. So it's all fresh, and then I mix it all together. I make it in small batches in my kitchen, put it in the freeze dryer. It takes about 40 hours for this to process. So it is a very lengthy and very involved process, and it comes out, when I pull it out of the pans, it's kind of all stuck together. I call it a biscuit, and you can break it apart if for the little tiny beaks like your finches, your canaries, your budgies, or leave it in bigger chunks for your other beaks that like to bite into stuff. So it's very versatile. I would say use it in addition to a well-rounded diet. Don't use it as a total diet. And it could be very easily used in substitution for pellets. People get very frustrated with pellets on the market and all the artificial stuff and the chemical vitamins and stuff added. So it could be used in substitution if you're not happy with any pellets out there. For the target audience on this product, it would be your finches, your canaries, budgies, parrotlets, lovebirds, cockatiels, conures, Indian ringnecks, alexandrins. I've got a very small macaw next to me who loves it and eats it like a champ. So you could just experiment with your birds and see who likes it. Any of the grass-eating and seed-eating species would be a good candidate for this freeze-dried product. So check it out. It has been months in the making. It has been going through rigorous testing, and at the very least, if you go to the website, the pictures are phenomenal. Oh my gosh, best demonstrating pictures ever. So check it out. and that is wingmanbirdsupply.com. The link is down in the show notes. Yay! I am so happy. Oh, here comes Murray. He's going to jump on my foot. Okay. Now, before we move along to the main part of the discussion today, I do want to say for the podcast listeners, if you want to purchase anything off of wingmanbirdsupply.com, anything and everything, use promo code PODCAST, 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 because you heard it here on the podcast. So for all of my podcast listeners, you're going to get 15% off your order. For the freeze dry, I do have, that is my only product in the website right now that has a shipping price attached to it. It is a flat fee of $3.99. But with the promo code, it pretty much knocks that down plus another $1 less. So you end up getting the whole thing for like right at $33.90 something. So you do get a little bit of a discount, and then you also get a discount on everything else in the store. I don't have a whole lot there now, but I do have some cool merch and more on the way. Okay, now for the big announcement. Wow. This hit me like a ton of bricks. This was sudden. I didn't expect this. I said Murray was going to be my last bird for a while. I'm kind of in a situation where I'm not really financially in a place where I can get a bird. I'd like to have a bird. Went through ins and outs of should I get this bird, that bird, and nothing was really fitting. So here's the story, and I hope it's okay that I talk about this. Chris and Kendra over at Mile High Parrot Supply, they've become friends of sorts with me. They are super, super awesome. They make my life better. They really do. And they'd seen me kind of go through some of this ins and outs. And meanwhile, they've had people contact them wanting to rehome birds and gonna put birds up on Craigslist and stuff like this. And they're like, well, let's take a look at this. Maybe we can help you out. We can't offer you a ton of money, but maybe we can get it adoptable and matched up with the next best owner for it and see what we have going on. And they kind of health assess stuff and make sure they check out health-wise. And if it's something they can take on and they feel like they can rehab if it's got behavior problems or something, they've been doing that with some of these bigger birds. And it's not all of them. You can't take all of them in, and there's a lot out there. You would be shocked at how much are out there. So they are a small family-owned operation. They are limited, and so they are discerning on who they take in and who they can work with and rehome. But they do a phenomenal job at this. So when you keep it small, you can spend time with these birds. So anyway, they stumbled across this little tiny mini macaw, and she seemed to pretty much hate everybody. And when they took her in, she'd been through a couple of homes, and she was plucking really bad. She wasn't getting any attention like she needed. And just the sweetest little bird. She likes women. She's not crazy about men. And when they took her in, she was quite the biter. She would really deliver a heck of a good bite if you tried to pick her up or get her to step up. She's very on the defense. And the first time I met her a couple months ago, she gave me a pretty good nip, but I never reacted to her. And I just talked to her, and sometimes they just throw her on my shoulder. Once she's on your shoulder, she likes to be there. And she really started taking to me and recognizing me. So after a couple of times over there, she started knowing who I was. And they said, we can't give this bird the attention she really needs, but she's coming around really quick and she's healthy. She checks out. She's growing her feathers back because we've been spending time with her, but we just can't dedicate all day, every day to her. And I said, yeah, I'll give it a shot. So they sent her home with me, and it's kind of a foster arrangement to possibly own later. We'll see what happens and see how I do with her. And she took to me immediately. This bird has been just all over me. She is a really sweet little bird. Oh my gosh. And so, with that said, I would like to welcome to the flock Emmy, the little mini macaw. She is a Hans macaw. She is about somewhere between 6 and 7 years old. Not sure exactly. And like I said, she's been through a couple of homes, so I guess I'm technically her third home, not including Chris and Kendra. And they've been working with her for, I'm not sure when they took her in, 2 or 3 months ago or something. So she's been through all the quarantine and all the proper, all that stuff that you gotta go through and checked out, so I didn't have to worry about any of that. And yeah, she's eating really good. She's eating healthy. The first home, I think, had her on an all-seed diet, which is totally wrong for a Hans macaw. And then the second home had her on like an all-chop diet, which is not good for a Hans macaw. So anyway, I'm trying to get her on something a little bit better for her that includes a little bit of fruit, a couple of nuts, and we're working on veggies. And she likes the freeze dry. And oh my gosh, she is just the sweetest little thing. She is still very defensive if it comes to getting her off your shoulder, and she will still bite me, but she really, really, really likes me. So she doesn't bite me very hard. She just kind of fakes out at this point. And I don't react, and I just kind of sternly tell her no bite in a little bit more stern tone than that. I don't want to convey that because she's sitting right next to me right now, so I don't want her to think I'm talking to her, but she's really, really smart. She can talk. She's a female, and she talks in context. She's very potty trained, and she's actually not scared of hands at all because she'll take treats and food from me. She'll let me touch her beak. She will let me give her scritches and pet her neck and head, and she'll snuggle with me. She'll step up when she needs something, and when she wants something, it's, I believe, what I can piece together with her without knowing anything, because people don't tell you anything. They don't want you to know. I think she was purchased as a baby. She was a novelty. She was going to be this tiny little pocket macaw, and she was more of a handful than the person was probably ready for. Right about the time she probably hit puberty, which was probably between the 1.5 to 2 year range, it was probably more than that person could deal with. She probably got very one person at that time and territorial with her cage or whatever. And most likely that's the story, and she found herself in a new home. Now, it's very, very possible that the first owner maybe needed to move or couldn't keep her for some reason. But I find it suspicious that right about the time she was probably hardcore into adult behavior is when she found herself into her next home. And then I guess she was in that home for about 4 years, and very little was discussed. She was kind of handed over to Chris and Kendra, and they said they didn't have time for her or something, and she was very nippy, and they were tired of her biting everyone. So I think she probably either never bonded with people there, or maybe just one person, maybe the woman of the household, and was very nippy with everyone else, and there was kids there and stuff. So she was, like I said, biting pretty hard when they took her on. The one thing that they think was kind of bugging her also at their place was they offer a lot of hand-fed babies. So they always have some babies going on that they're working with or hand-feeding, or in some stage they have their own breeding colony of cockatiels that is just amazing. Murray came from that. He is truly an amazing pet. And so they've always got these little babies they're working with. And with this little girl being a female, it was kind of making her hormonally nuts. And they had that happen with another bird that they'd taken in and worked with for a while. It was starting to get a little bit overly crazy over the baby birds and stuff. So anyway, she ended up taking to me so quickly and recognizing me that there was nothing to worry about in the transition. I stuck her in a carrier about a week ago and brought her home, and it was like she was always here. And she's been very, very gentle with me. She shows that she really loves me. And yeah, she's pretty cooperative. She does have still a few little hang-ups and stuff. I'm going to see if we can work on that with her and see what happens. I don't really know much about macaws. I'm learning all I can, and I'll tell you one thing. She is nothing like the budgies. She is nothing like a cockatiel. And in my very, very, very limited experience, I get to go over to Mile High Parrot Supply and play with their African Cape Parrot, and they have an Indian ringneck. She is nothing like any of those. She's very much like the macaws they take in, and sometimes I've got to hold some of those and interact with them. And she's just like the great big huge macaws. So she's got every bit of their intellect and every bit of their character and mindset. I mean, just her body language and everything is very, very similar to that. Definitely a macaw in a very tiny body, but she has a huge presence. Oh my gosh. So we're going to see how this goes, and I'm really hoping that Emmy is going to be the ambassador for the podcast here, and she's going to be the example of why we need to research what we're going to get and make sure that the bird you get is something you're really willing to stick with. I really think this bird had a deep love for her first owner, and I think I resemble that person in some capacity. Maybe they had a similar haircut, maybe their voice was similar, maybe there's some resemblance somehow. She just took to me like crazy, and I really believe this bird acts like she is just starved for affection and starved for attention. She has serious abandonment issues going on, so I want to get her some confidence and work with that intellect. I don't think she's ever been trained. She doesn't show any signs of clicker training. She can talk, so people have interacted with her that way, and she's probably just a shoulder bird. She likes to curl up in my lap and sleep while I'm on the computer, so very, very cute. Sweet little girl. Right on. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, she's going to be our little ambassador here. And the way this ties in with our previous episode a couple weeks back on realistic expectations is because the more I look up different birds and I try to see what all is out there on social media, what all is out on these birds on Facebook, and very accessible resources that you would probably go to first. I try to kind of assess what's maybe happening and where people are running into problems. There's a lot of things that you can very easily think incorrectly about bird ownership just based on the little snippets that you see on the internet and stuff. And I really think it leads to problems like birds like Emmy getting rehomed, and then when they get rehomed to another person that doesn't understand them the way they really need to be understood, it causes more behavior issues and not being understood properly, not being worked with properly. Who knows? I mean, maybe she was forcefully moved around off her shoulders and stuff, and that's why she nips. I do know that with her species, they do tend to nip a little bit when it comes to shoulder territorial behavior and stuff like that. So you have to have some persistence and know how to work with their mindsets to get a really, really good result out of that where they don't resent you and resist and things. So she's starting to soften up in that regard, and I'm really looking forward to working with her. It's so exciting. Yay! What a sweet little girl. And they are so cute, guys. I've also gotten to see a baby little Hans macaw in the recent past, and when they are little guys, when they're just ready to be adoptable and they're weaned, oh my gosh, they are the cutest little things imaginable. Hi there, Emmy. Are you going to talk? You going to talk? Hi. Hello. I don't know if you can hear her. If it comes out in the edit, I'll leave it in the edit. Oh, you're on your new perch. She's starting to explore her cage more just because she's sitting here by me, which is good because she's only been on 1 or 2 perches and played with 1 toy. And she just went down to 2 lower perches and then touched 2 different toys. So she didn't play with them, but that's a good sign. It means she's looking at them and getting more comfortable in her space when she needs to be in there. So she doesn't have to spend too much time in her cage with me, at least this past week. If I have to go to the grocery store or something, she's been pretty good about going in. I make it a fair exchange. I make sure there's something in there she wants, some sort of treat or food or something she's ready for. And I think it's a safe place for her. I think she likes it. So now, hand in hand with all of this. Hand in hand. And I think this is very, very important. I have been looking for a while, and I think I found a while back, and I contacted, and then I just followed up with a very experienced bird behavior consultant and a bird behavior expert, a bird trainer with all kinds of bird experience and in my area. So I have invited that person to do a consultation on behavior and training with Emmy for me, so I get off to the right start with her, and he's agreed to maybe put this on the podcast. So I want this to be an educational thing for everyone out there. If you're having some trouble understanding your bird, if it's starting to get territorial, if it's biting people, if you're having problems with it with you, anything, you know what? It is a sound investment. Oh my gosh, get a session or two with a really good, experienced bird behavior expert. Some of them can work with you via Zoom, so you can do it from home with your computer. And I want to encourage people out there. This goes back to realistic expectations. I know there's a lot of real popular ones out there on the internet that get like Insta celebrity status, all that sort of thing, and you can pay a pretty penny for their services, but there are so many professionals in every area of the world, and the United States is where a majority of my audience is. So look and see if there's a professional bird behavior specialist near you that you can consult with. And I'm going to tell you from the experience with the giant dog when I took him on a number of years ago, he had some major behavior problems because he'd never been trained, and he was enormous. He was a giant puppy. You have to have control over a dog that size, and they have to be able to communicate and understand what you're asking of them. And yeah, I hired a professional, and I got a few sessions under my belt, and that man was worth his weight in gold for those sessions. And I would do it all over again with any animal that I need help with. Oh my gosh. And consider such a thing an investment in your animal and an investment in your relationship with that animal. Some people want to just kind of, I don't need that. Oh, I watch bird tricks. Oh, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But really, you need a really good session that's not abbreviated and not just kind of the highlights of a session, which is what is out there on the internet. You get snippets. You don't get the full information. You don't get the full why. You don't get the full psychology. So when you know the why and you know the how, and you have someone working with you, not only is it probably going to be more affordable, you're going to get more out of it. And if it's someone that's directly in your area where you can get one-on-one coaching, that's best. But realistically, birds are kind of specialized, so if you can get someone that works via Zoom, hey, even better. Just invest in it. And do your research, look at reviews, and see how they check out. See if you can find people that have used them. Get referrals from people that have used behavior specialists. That sort of thing. There's always ways. So we're going to ask that fellow a lot of those questions and see what he has in advice in that direction. And yeah, I want to see so many more successes. That way people don't have to feel like they have to get rid of their birds. I just keep seeing stuff over and over and over, people rehoming. And it always seems to align when the bird goes through puberty and is starting to hit those adult behaviors that just aren't understood well by the human. I think a lot of rehoming is actually avoidable in the grand scheme of things. And probably very inexpensively so. If you think 1 or 2 sessions with a behavior specialist is expensive, oh my gosh, it's only a couple $100 out of your pocket, and it's an investment. It is time and money well spent. And then you have a lifelong companion. It's just amazing. So, yay, let's explore this, people. We're going to talk more about realistic expectations and how to properly research a bird when you're thinking about that impulse purchase. We're going to look into that too. That way you get the best match possible. We want everyone to have the best bird for them, and you know what to expect. Because, oh my gosh, the more I've been looking at social media, the more examples I have for you guys. So we're going to talk about some of that in upcoming episodes. Okay, I would like to give a couple big shout outs. First and foremost, of course, I always just talk about them all the time. Chris and Kendra over at Mile High Parrot Supply, thank you so much for this opportunity to see how Emmy works out and see if she's a good match for me. I'm really kind of getting in love with this little soul. She's just so amazing. Oh my gosh. Such a bright little light and such a tiny little body. And just so cute. Just adorable, beyond adorable. And then I want to give a big shout out to the customer who recently found my shop online and completely wiped out the last of my inventory of the Stovetop Cook and Serve blend. Oh my gosh, I'm out of stock. That's awesome. Thank you so much for your purchase. And I will have that back in inventory here probably in about a week and a half or less. Also, stay tuned. I am going to have a new seed blend for some of those people that have birds like Emmy and the Hans macaw or some of the conures out there. And it's going to be more of a conure specific blend. It's going to have some fruit in it and everything. I'm also developing a freeze-dried treat mix that's more leaning for the eclectus and lorikeet lorry crowd out there. It's going to be a fruit blend of freeze-dried goodness for those birds that have a little bit of a sweet tooth going on. But you can also feed it to your parrots, the big guys in the jungle, like your macaws and stuff. So it's going to be for everyone. You can give it to conures, anyone who eats it. You just don't want to give it to the little birds very much, just a little bit of a snack here and there. So I might have to have some little sample sizes or something. And then the other big announcement that is on its way, I don't have it quite yet. I am putting together and creating kits for you guys. If you've ever wanted to try seed sprouting so you have fresh sprouts for your birds, oh my gosh, it is amazing. It is affordable. It is cheap and super easy to do. No maintenance almost with the system that I have found. I have been shopping and looking high and low, far and near, and finally found the right sprout kit. It is not an eyesore. Some of them are huge eyesores. They're just ugly. They take up space. You don't know where to put them. They're messy. They drip everywhere. They're problems. I've tried all kinds of... I have spent so much money trying different sprout kits. Oh my gosh. So I finally found the perfect one that's near impossible to find, and I finally found the manufacturer. So I have an order in, and I am going to be putting together these amazing sprout kits. And with the sprout kits, they are going to include little pre-measured bags of a tri-blend of millet. Wow. I will be offering other sprouting seeds as well in the future. I haven't got those yet, so we're going to start experimenting with blends and other types of things that you can sprout, and I'll have some refill kits. Yeah, it's going to be good and very easy to use, reusable, and here again, it's not an eyesore. It doesn't take up unnecessary space in your kitchen. It's a great way to get that fat-laden seed, less fat content and more of those enzymes, more of that living plant matter, vegetable matter. It's really good for your birds, and it has incredible nutrition. So it's awesome. And we have these little guys, especially the seed eaters, the little canaries, the finches, the parakeets, the budgies, parrotlet, lovebirds, all of these little tiny itty bitty seed eating birds. It is so expensive going to the grocery store and get it. You have to, even if you get small amounts of produce to make your own chop, you end up making more than what you can feed to them before it goes bad. So when you have an option like sprouts, and it's very easy to make, it's very inexpensive, it doesn't take up much space on your counter, and you can perpetually have that going on, oh my gosh, that is a godsend. And now I've got Murray chasing Budgie's around. Sometimes he is a little pill towards them. But Cricket was on his cage, so I guess it happens. So yeah, be looking forward to that. Sprout kits, go check out the freeze dry if you are interested, and look for new formulas to be released in the future, as well as the Lorikeet and Eclectus treats on the horizon. I am so excited. Yay, so much fun. Okay, this has been a lot of fun tonight. I'm going to let you go on this, get this edited. I know I'm a few days late as it is, and we'll get some normal content going on next week or in the next week whenever I get to this again. And yeah, fun time. If you're having fun hanging out with me, if you're getting value out of this, if you'd like a way to support the show, please consider joining my Patreon. I have it set at a very low support-only rate right now, and I may add extra tiers in the future, but right now it's just at a support-only tier. And last but not least, before I conclude this episode, if you enjoyed the dramatic reading of Edgar Allan Poe again this year on Halloween by myself and Tim, oh my gosh, it looks like a ton of you have tuned into that. We had so much fun. We are considering doing kind of a audio theater in the future where we just do plays and different readings and read stories and stuff like that. And it's gonna be all in good fun, all positive, something you can turn on at night and use as story time if you want to, that sort of thing. So we might be offering that as part of the Patreon bonus that you get when you sign up for the Patreon. So if we can get that going here in the near future, you'll be the first to know, and it will be part of what you get when you sign up on the Patreon. Alright, that's all I got for you this week, and we will catch you next week. Until then, go play with your birds, go have fun with your birds, go enjoy your birds, and by all means, if you are out there, you're considering getting a bird, contact your local rescue, your local sanctuary, see what they got for you, and ask them to help you pick out the best bird for your personality and for your lifestyle. See what is a good match for you, and take home a bird that needs a home. They are so amazing, and it's incredible to me. I do believe that they understand when they are in the presence of someone that's a good match for them. I do believe that Emmy chose me more than I chose her, and I think that when you find the right bird, it's going to let you know also. So that's another good option you have when you go to rescues and you go to sanctuaries and stuff. Check the reviews, make sure you're happy with the place, and remember, you can go check a place out too. You don't have to commit to taking a bird home that first time you step foot in the place. In fact, it's good to let them get to know you and see what you're about and assess you a little bit. So make sure it's a good match, and yeah, consider that. Give a bird a home that needs a home. The more they are rehomed and shuffled around, the harder it is for them to find that permanent place. So it does take a special person to understand a special little crazy mind like a bird. So make sure it's a good match, and that's a good way to do it. Alright, that's all I got for you this time, folks. I look forward to some more excitement with Emmy and the flock. We'll probably be broadcasting up here in the bird room at least a few more times. Maybe I'll get back down into the studio soon. Alright, we'll see what happens. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.